Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our class on Srimad Bhagavatam study. Today's class will be based on Canto 1, Chapter 2, from verse number 8 till verse number 15. The topic of this chapter is Divinity and Divine Service. In all, this is our fifth class. For other classes, the viewers can search on YouTube. The previous 4 classes are already available on YouTube. Request devotees to kindly mute. Thank you. Today's Mangalacharan was scheduled for Sunanda Mataji, but I don't think she has joined the call. So maybe may I request others or anyone who would like to volunteer for reciting Mangalacharan?
I can do that.
Okay, Shivanji, please go ahead.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalaşalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Sopadantikam Vandehum Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunath Vitam Cha Tajivam Sadvaitam Swadabhutam Prajane Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Krishna Pamcha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishpano Sute Devi Pranamame Hare Priye Vancha Kalpadata Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Devacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauri Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Tat Sat.
अरे वाह, आपका तो बड़ा मेलोडियस, वेरी मेलोडियस सिंगिंग प्रभु जी. Very much delighting to hear from your mouth the Mangalacharan recitation. Thank you very much. Very nice.
Thank you.
Enjoyed.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, would you also be willing to recite these prayers?
ठीक है. हाँ जी.
Okay.
Om
Please
Namo
try.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jnanam Udiryate Nashta Preshta Abudresho Nityam Bhagavad Swaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Deviki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah.
Very nice, very nice. Almost there, except one or two words. You were almost very.
अगर हिंदी में लिखा रहता तो थोड़ा सा easier रहता. अंग्रेजी में थोड़ा मुश्किल रहता transition.
Yeah.
From one chant to the next chant.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
अगर संस्कृत में होता.
Okay. Yes, I understand. He's trying to say Hindi script, right? The Devanagari script.
हाँ जी.
Okay. ठीक है जी. Thank you. So Okay, now let us do the recap of the previous class, and I already see Jeevan Radha Prabhu joining us. Prabhuji will be taking us to the recap of class number 4. Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to all the members of our group. First of all, I want to thank our Shiksha Guru Sri Keshav Prabhuji for giving me this opportunity to present the recap of the last class. In the last class, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service, we covered slokas number 1 to 7. So I will be going through my presentation one by one, verse by verse. In verse 1, Sutta Goswami thanked the sages and expressed appreciation for their perfect questions. He says the questions were some prashna, and he was very much happy. He was very much, he became very thrilled, and it is given as some Hristo. Next, in verse number 2, before replying, Sutta Goswami offers his obeisances to the spiritual master, Sukadeva Goswami, who can enter the heart of all. In verse number 2, this is the translation which says, actually, Sukadeva Goswami was in his mother's womb not for 9 months. He was there for about 16 years. And as soon as he got 16 years, he immediately left the forest. Sukadeva Goswami left home while his father Vyasadeva was running after him crying, "Oh my son." He left home without even undergoing the purificatory ceremonies, that is sacred, etc. What happens here is, once actually Sukadeva Goswami was such a exalted, self-realized soul that he was always, in more or less in the mode of Shuddha Sattva. The trees in the forest, normally the trees are supposed to be in the mode of ignorance. They became, their consciousness improved, and they started echoing, "Oh my son, oh my son." So that is why here it is given that Sukadev, he can enter into the heart of all. That's how this particular thing is coming here. This was a story. This was the information given in the class by our Prabhuji. Sukadeva also left home while his father Vyasadeva was running after him, crying, "Oh son." Then Sukadeva Goswami was a Vaishnava by birth, hence no need for any purificatory ceremony. After all, the ultimate aim of such a person is to turn a crude man into Vaishnava, loving devotee of the Lord. Next comes the verse number 3. This is also an important verse. Sutta Goswami meditates on Sukadeva's qualities. Actually, the shloka says he internalized the essence of all these Vedas. It says the word, Sanskrit word is Swa Anubhava. And then he was compassionate for the people who want to cross over the darkness of material existence. Here in this particular verse, here in the following are the points. The range of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is not only from, it is ranging from, right from the samsarinam, the people who are in the material book, and from the lowest thing to the muninam, the highest paramahamsas. The any speaker of Bhagavatam should develop these two qualities. One is they should internalize the essence of Vedas. Then they should be compassionate for people who want to cross over the darkness of material existence. Next comes the verse number 4. Here, Sutta Goswami offers his obeisance to Lord Narayana, Narayana Rishis, Saraswati Devi, and Srila Vasudha. Just now that sloka was recited, Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Vyasam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tataha Udirayet. This is the shloka normally we use it in the class also before starting our class. Next is the next shloka, verse number 5. Suta Goswami then tells the sages why their questions are so worthy, because they are about Lord Krishna and therefore is relevant for the ultimate benefit of everyone. It is given as Loka Mangalam. One's heart can only be satisfied by hearing the discussions about regarding Lord Krishna. Next is verse number 6. I have some actually elaborate explanations have been given in the class. So I am just giving only the crux points. I am not going into the details of whatever Prabhu has taught in the class. Next is the sixth number, verse number 6 answers the questions Q1 and Q2. That is question 1. What is the ultimate good for the people? That is the question number 1 put by the sages of the Naimisharanya. And question number 2 was essence of all the scriptures. The answer to both these questions is same. That is pure devotional service to Adokshaja. Here in this shloka, Lord is described as Adokshaja. That is another name for Krishna, who is he is the master of senses, and nobody can reach him by material. He is beyond perception through material senses. And in this shloka, this bhakti has got the two qualities of bhakti are described. One is known as ahaituki, and another is known as the apratihata. Ahaitu is actually even here, even ahaituki has two possible meanings. One is unmotivated, that is one meaning is unmotivated. Bhakti should be done without any motive. Actually, Prabhu quoted these shlokas that we have learned in the Nectar of Devotion class. Actually no motive. Actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is talking of the four types of people who are surrendering to the Lord. But all of them having some intentions or motives for why they want to approach. But here, it is not like that. Whatever bhakti, what is being given to Lord Krishna should be unmotivated. That is annabhilashita sunyam. That was also explained in the class. That is the first point. And then the next meaning of ahaituki is costless. Bhakti does not have any external cause. Bhakti should be made only for bhakti only. They should not have any external this thing. This was also elaborately explained in the class by Prabhuji. Next point is the next quality is apratihata. Apratihata also has got two meanings. One is uninterrupted. Bhakti to be practiced consistently. It should not be practiced on part-time basis. Suppose somebody engages in bhakti on whenever this thing, it should be done on a regular basis. And we have learned a lot of things about this in our Nectar Devotion class. It should not be made one day you do some few rounds of chanting, next day you don't do that much, and then you don't do it according to your convenience. It should be done in a systematic manner as per the regulative principles. That is what, and it should be done uninterruptedly. This is what is that. Next is the next meaning is bhakti cannot be checked. Apratihata means it cannot be checked. Bhakti once started cannot be stopped. It has to continue. And in this reference, Prabhu also quoted the reference from Srimad Bhagavatam Gita, the shloka number 2.4. Na iha abhikramo nasho asti pratyavayo na vidyate Salpamati asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Whatever you doing your bhakti, devotional service or bhakti or Krishna conscious activity, it is immediately growing into your credit. So whatever you are doing, even if you don't do it for some time and then continue, whatever you have already done that divine service, that will be in your credit, and you can do further. This, and even if you have to do next janma also, that credit will be there. So bhakti can never be stopped. Next is the verse number actually 7. Verse number 7 is an elaboration of verse number 6. In verse number 7, Suta Goswami says that bhakti for Lord Krishna quickly produces knowledge and detachment. The knowledge, this knowledge, actually you don't have to go for a separate jnana yoga or something like that. The bhakti yoga itself is so simple, it automatically produces the knowledge and detachment. The knowledge, this knowledge is called ahaitukam, without any goal, that is devoid of impersonal liberation. Actually bhakti should be made only for bhakti, it should not have any other thing. Then knowledge in this case means knowledge and experience of Lord's form, qualities, and sweetness. This is an elaboration from verse number 6. Then misconceptions about bhakti. Actually, this is given in the purport of verse number 7. Actually, bhakti, misconception. One is the bhakti meant for some people do the bhakti only for some emotional reason. That is not the correct type of bhakti. That will not be counted as bhakti. Similarly, bhakti meant for those who can perform high grade. That's also not this thing. High grade activities. It is not like that. Actually, high grade activities means you can do some big austerities, tapasyas, or you can do openly trade reparation like that. Bhakti is actually this bhakti yoga is very simple, and there is no necessity to go and qualify for to that extent of going for higher activities. Then next is bhakti is meant for bhakti is common for everyone. It is for Shudras, Vaishyas, and women class also. Next thing is the right conception of bhakti. Bhakti is meant for both advanced and neophyte devotee. For advanced devotees, it is sublime, and for neophyte, the bhakti yoga is a very, very simple process. It is very easy for them. I thank once again our Prabhuji, Shishya Guru, our Keshav Prabhuji, for giving me this opportunity to make this presentation. And I also thank all our participants of this class who have given a patient hearing. In case if I have done some mistake, if I have not covered some points, because I made it very simple, and I because I was little engaged in some other activity, I felt I didn't do much of a justification. So any point is missing, I request our Shiksha Guru Keshav Prabhuji to make the corrections and amend and present it in the class. Thank you once again, Prabhuji, for giving me this opportunity. I thank all the listeners also for their patient hearing. Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you very much. All the points very nicely covered, very elaborately covered. Only one place I think I need to make a minor correction here, where you were mentioning about the two meanings of apratihata. In the second meaning, cannot be checked. So cannot be checked means once you start the bhakti, then it continues to grow. It doesn't diminish. So the account doesn't diminish. So cannot be checked would mean that. And the verse number is 2.40. In Bhagavad Gita, it's the 40th verse of the second chapter.
Yeah, nice. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Very nice. And I would request other devotees also who, because few devotees are joining us for the, they have recently only joined our classes. So in case you are also interested in making the summary of the class and presenting the summary of the class in the class, you can also connect with us, mention your name that you are interested in this, so we can also give you the opportunity. Yeah. Okay, so let us now move to the next item. Okay, this is the overview map of our class, chapter 2nd. We have already covered the first section where Sudha Goswami has replied to question number 1 and question number 2 of the sages of Naimisharanya. The answer is bhakti. Their question was, what is the ultimate good for people and what is the essence of all scriptures? Now he has replied to answer to both these questions is bhakti, and he has now started to elaborate upon on this theme, what is the essence of all scriptures. Now when Sud Goswami is elaborating on this theme that bhakti actually is the essence of all scriptures, he is now moving into another section, into another topic, which is from verse number 8 till 15, where he will be talking about that if you are thinking that there are other practices also, for example, varna and ashram. So this system, we all know, most of us would know what is varnashram. Now, if you think that varnashram alone is actually the essence of all scriptures, then let me clarify you, it is not the case, and actually bhakti should be the goal of varnashram also. So with that intention, now Sud Goswami is now elaborating and giving a clarification on the answer he has already given. So this is something like as an elaboration on the answer he has already presented. So today's class will focus mainly on verse number 8 till verse number 15. Very, very important verses. So please kindly pay attention. One more thing I would like to clarify is that last time in the class I had received this comment, I think from Vidya Lakshmi Mataji. I'm not sure whether she is there in the class today. Let me check. No, I don't think she's there, but the comment was that we are going verse by verse and we are taking a lot of time. So probably the whole Bhagavatam we may not be able to finish. So just to clarify, in case others also may have that doubt, when the philosophical sections are there, we would be going a bit slow, but when the storyline will start, we will go a little fast. So the objective at the moment is to cover canto number 1 and canto number 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam within the period of 1 year, and this class will also issue quizzes. So this is including the teaching time, like the lecture time, as well as the discussion on the quizzes, etc. So my idea is 1 year, or target is 1 year to complete Canto 1 and Canto 2. So I think within 4 years we should be able to complete Canto 6 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the objective. That's the target. Yeah. Okay, let us now start
Hare Krishna
discussion today.
Yes, Prabhuji. I think so. It is a perfect way, in my opinion, Guruji. If we go faster, maybe we will not swallow. Even now we are having difficulty in understanding full, but it is fine. Thank you, Guruji.
Okay, Ji. Thank you. Thanks for your comment. Yeah. Okay. Now we are moving to the next section, and the link to the next section is that he has already answered the 2 questions. Now he is elaborating on his answer. If bhakti is topmost, then what about varnashram dharma? So many people who were present there, probably in the audience, might have had this notion that maybe varnashram dharma actually is the topmost or the conclusion of the scripture or the essence of the scripture. So in order to clarify such misgivings or doubts, Sud Goswami now pick up this theme of varnashram, and let us now elaborate on verse one by one. Last time I already received one feedback from Anupama Mataji about mentioning the verses but not mentioning the individual meanings of the lines. So I took some time to put some of these lines, some of the English translation of individual lines, like you can see color coded here. And I think it should be a good idea to give the meaning of the lines also. Okay, as usual, we will do the recitation also. And we have one more volunteer in the class, Mangala Mataji, who had expressed her desire to recite the verses during the class. Mangala Mataji, are you ready?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Warm welcome. Yeah. Okay. So.
Thank you.
Dharma swanishtitha pumsam.
Dharma swanishtitha pumsa.
Vishwaksena kathasuya.
Vishvaksena Katasuya
Nautpadayeda yati ratim
Nautpadera Yat Ratim
Shrama eva hi kevalam.
Ramaivahi Kevalam.
Very nice, very nice. So I would request those devotees who have given their names for reciting verses in the class, they come a little prepared by trying a little practice before the class. So you can expect that, okay, maybe we will cover some 15-20 verses further to the previous class. So just try to give a little practice so that you already
Yes,
are
Prabhuji.
a little more fluent when you are doing this recitation. But that was a good recitation, Mataji. Thank you very much. Okay, now let us look at let us go a little deeper into the verse. Let us see what Sud Goswami is trying to say here. So, dharma swanishtitah pumsam. So some of these words like pumsam, pumbhir, some of these words you will see regularly in Bhagavatam. So pumsam actually means for human beings, man. Dharma. Now dharma, the meaning of word dharma here is occupational duties. Occupational duties means, since like you see, we are discussing what here? We are discussing about varnashram dharma. Now we are discussing about varnashram dharma here. And in respect to varnashram dharma, when we talk about the word dharma, actually it means the occupational duties. Occupational duties means, for example, for Brahmana, the duties will be separate. For Kshatriya, the duties will be separate. For Vaishyas and Shudras, duties will be separate. And we have seen these kind of duties listed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. If you go to chapter 18, there Lord Krishna elaborates what are the duties of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So Brahmana, for example, is supposed to engage himself in spiritual activities like teaching of Shastra, studying of Shastra, and so on. Kshatriya would be mainly for administrative work. So here you can see dharma swa anushtitha. Anushtitha means according to one's position. Swa means one's own. Pumsam means human being. So occupational duties of men according to one's position. Now that means different varnas in varnashram system, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and similarly Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Brahmachari and Sannyasi. So these divisions in the varnashram system, everyone has a different dharma according to one's position. If somebody is a Brahmachari, he has some occupational duties. If somebody is Vaishya, he has occupational duties. Now, it means dharma swa anushtitha pumsam, occupational duties of men according to one's position. Now it says, now you can see here in Srimad Bhagavatam, like you see the blue one, the blue line here, I am mentioning it here. Although here it comes as third, but here it is being mentioned as second, because it will make the meaning of the verse a bit more clearer. If does not produce attraction, na utpad yed yadi ratim, na utpad, no notpad yed. Notpad yed means it's a sandhi, it's a combination of two words. What are these two words? Na utpad. Utpad means producing. Like you see in Hindi we call utpadan. Utpadan means production. Na utpad. So na utpad yadi. Yadi means if. If it does not produce what? If it does not produce what? If it does not produce ratim. If it does not produce ratim, ratim means what? Ratim means attraction. Ratim means attraction. If this doing the duties according to one's position in varnashram system, if that does not produce attraction to what? Vishvaksena Kathasuya. Vishvaksena is another name of Lord Krishna. Kathasu means his message or his katha. If it does not produce attraction to the message of Lord Vishvaksena, then what does it mean? Shrama eva hi kevalam. It is useless labor only. It is useless labor only. So the idea in this verse, dear devotee, is varnashram dharma is not paro dharma, Actually, the objective of Varnashram Dharma or the goal of Varnashram Dharma is what? Is Vishwaksena Kathasu. Yeah. Ratim for Vishwaksena Kathasu. The attraction for Katha of Lord Vishwaksena. That is the param objective. That is the main objective of Varnashram system. So, what does it mean? We do Varnashram duties. For example, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Brahmana is occupied in teaching and studying. Kshatriya is occupied in administration work, protection of the society. Like that, Vaishya and Shudras are also occupied in certain occupational duties. But doing those duties alone and getting some earning or getting some mental and physical satisfaction by doing those duties alone, that is not the main aim of Varnashram Dharma. The main aim of Varnashram Dharma is actually to produce attraction for the message of Lord Vishwaksena. So when anybody we are in Varnashram system, we are either in Grahastha ashram or we are doing some duty like an administrator or maybe as a intellectual or maybe as a commercial person. The ultimate aim for our duty is mainly to have attraction for the message of Lord Vishwaksena, message of Lord Krishna. Let us see what the important points in the purport here say. Mangala Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Key to happiness. Without knowing the need of the dormant soul, one cannot be happy simply with emulation of the body and mind. How to achieve happiness?
Mataji, just 1 minute. Let us go one by one.
Yeah.
So, key to happiness. Here in this verse, what is being mentioned is Shrama eva hi kevalam, na utpad yed yadiratam. So here, why do we need attraction for Lord Krishna? Because we want to be happy. And here, Prabhupada in his purport is actually giving us key to happiness. So here he is saying, without knowing the need of the dormant soul, one cannot be happy simply by emolument of the body and the mind. Emolument means enjoyment or satisfaction of body and mind. Without knowing the need of dormant soul. So the point here Prabhupada is trying to say is that we are individual souls. We are not these bodies, we are soul. And unless and until we satisfy the soul, we cannot be happy simply by emolument of the body and mind. So what is Varnashram system actually is geared towards? Specifically the Varna aspect. The Varna aspect is mainly geared towards earning our livelihood. Earning our livelihood in a way that actually meets our psychophysical needs. If we are inclined towards studying, reading, etc., we would take up to Brahmanical some occupation. But simply by taking up Brahmanical occupation and earning some money through that occupation will only satisfy our either mental need or maybe the bodily need. But that is not the purpose of Varnashram. That should not be the purpose of Varnashram. The purpose of Varnashram should be the satisfaction of soul. And that satisfaction of soul actually comes from what? That satisfaction of soul comes from Vishwaksena Katha Ratim, attraction for the Katha of Lord Vishwaksena. Now you can read, Mataji, the next one.
How to achieve happiness? Therefore, we have to engage ourselves in the occupational engagement that will evoke our divine consciousness. This is possible only by hearing and chanting the divine activities of the Supreme Lord. Any other endeavor is simply a waste of time.
Simply a waste of time. Now, how do we become attracted towards, how to achieve that happiness? How to achieve that happiness? So Prabhupada is saying we have to engage ourselves in occupational engagement. So he's again using the same word, occupational engagement. So he's saying occupational engagement that will evoke our divine consciousness. And how do we evoke this divine consciousness? By hearing and chanting the divine activities of Supreme Lord. And any other endeavor is simply a waste of time. So dear devotees, when you are hearing Krishna Katha, don't think that you are simply hearing some story for entertainment. Actually, these stories have the potency to evoke divine consciousness within us. And this divine consciousness actually purify us and actually take us back to Godhead at the end of our life, at the end of our spiritual journey. So this is what the potency of these katha and potency of these spiritual discussions are. Okay, let us move to the next one. Mangala Mataji would like to try once again.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Now the discussion moves further. He further elaborates on the same topic, on the same theme. Here, Sud Goswami is saying occupational duties are meant for ultimate liberation. So in the previous verse, he talked about the occupational duty should develop attraction for the Katha of Lord Vishwaksena. Now here he is further elaborating upon this point. Okay. Dharmasya hi apavargasya
Dharmasya hi apavargasya
nartho arthayopakalpate
nartho arpayo kalpate
na artho arthayopakalpate
na artha rathayo pakakalpate
na arthasya dharmekantasya
na arthasya dharme kantasya
kamo labhaya hi smritaha
kamo labhahi smrityah
kamo labhaya hi smrita.
kamo labhahi smritah.
Very good. Nice, Mataji. Thank you. Okay. Dharmasya hi apavargasya. Dharmasya, the same meaning because it is being discussed regarding Varnashram. So Dharmasya here actually is referring to the occupational duties. So hi apavargasya. This word apavargasya means liberation. We will give you a little more further elaboration on this word little later in our classes. But for the time being, you understand that apavargasya means liberation. This word is also will appear many times in Srimad Bhagavatam. So dharmasya hi apavargasya. Sud Goswami is saying here that the occupational duties actually are meant for liberation. And what it is not meant for, in the second line he mentioned, na artho arthayopakalpate. Na artho means it is not meant for artha. Arthayo apakalpate. Artha means material gain. Like we have Arthashastri. Arthashastri means those who are economists. Economist means who are mainly for earning money, how the economy works, how the money moves from one place to another, those kind of signs. So, na artho arthayo apakalpate. Na artho means it is not meant for artha, for generating material gain. It is not meant for that purpose. Now the second line or the third line actually gives some instructions. Third line gives some instructions. Na arthasya dharmaikantasya. Dharmaikantasya. Dharma ek antasya. Dharma ek anta. So ek anta, dharma ek anta actually means the ultimate dharma. Anta means end. So what is the end of dharma? End of dharma means what is the topmost dharma, because dharma could have multiple levels. Dharma could be starting from simply maybe doing something good to maybe even elevating further higher and higher. And ultimate dharma is what? Ultimate dharma, occupational duty is actually bhakti, devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So those engaged in the ultimate occupational duty means dharma ek antasya. So na arthasya dharma ekantasya kamo labhaya hi smrita. Kamo labhaya hi smrita. So those people who are engaged in the ultimate occupational duty, dharma ekantasya, they should never use material gain. They should never use material gain, labhai. Material gain here is labhai. For what? For kama. For kama. For sense gratification. And this is the word of the sages. This is the word of the sages. He smrita. Smrita means the sages. So the sages are advising us that the ultimate purpose of occupational duty is liberation. And it is not actually material gain. Those who are engaged in ultimate occupational duty means bhakti. and they should never use material gain for sense gratification, says the sages. Let us see some important point from the purport that Srila Prabhupada has given. Mataji, can you please read it again?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
They are people attracted towards material gain because material gain can enable one to fulfill desires, which in turn satisfy sense gratification.
So why people want material gain? Why people want to earn more and more money, more and more property, etc., etc.? There are two sequences here. So because material gain can enable us to fulfill one desires. So they have, the living entity have desires. So once we have material gain, we have money, we can fulfill our desires. And what do we achieve by fulfilling our desires? We actually satisfy our senses, which in turn satisfy sense gratification. So that is the sequence. Now let us see this sequence here. Why do we need material gain? To fulfill desires. And why do we want to fulfill material desires? We want to fulfill material desires maybe to satisfy our senses. So this is the sequence here. So here Sut Goswami is saying that occupational duty are meant for liberation and not for material gain. So like if you are a Brahmana, if you are a Kshatriya, if you are Vaishya, Shudra, ultimately you should do some material gain. It is not that you should not do any material gain, but you should not forget that ultimate occupational duty is Vishwaksena Kathasuya. Have attraction towards the Katha of Vishwaksena, Katha of Lord Krishna. That is the purpose. So these two verses are actually trying to emphasize what is the ultimate goal by contrasting Varnashram with Bhakti Yoga. So here Sudha Goswami is clearly putting forward this argument that Bhakti Yoga actually is the topmost and Varnashram is subordinate. While mentioning Varnashram as subordinate, he is also clarifying that the purpose of Varnashram is actually to move towards Bhakti. That is the ultimate purpose of Varnashram. Now you can see in the second verse of first chapter of Bhagavatam, Canto number 1, we heard the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Vyasadev is mentioning Dharma Projita Kaitavo Atra. Dharma Projita Kaitavo Atra. Atra means here in this book. Dharma Projita Kaitavo. So Kaitav means cheating religion. Cheating religion means the religion which actually cheats. The purpose of religion should be ultimate good of people. But if the religion is teaching that by earning money you can become happy, by earning property you can become happy, then that religion is actually a cheating religion. So Dharma Projita Kaitavo Atra. So you can see from these verses what was promised in the beginning of this book. The cheating religion actually which prescribes material gain is being kicked out here. Projita. Projita means strongly kicked out here in Srimad Bhagavatam. Now you saw these three things. Material gain, we do it for fulfilling our desires. And why do we want to fulfill our desires? We want to fulfill our desires to ultimately satisfy our senses. So these three things you will see in this 10th verse. Okay, now may I request Vasudevan Prabhu to kindly help me in chanting the verses. Vasudevan Prabhu, are you there? Let me check. Yes, Vasudevan Prabhu, I can see you. Are you there? Are you hearing to me?
I can also help, Prabhuji, for reading. I can also help.
Okay, Prabhuji. Then maybe you can try.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, okay. Prabhuji is back. Prabhuji is back. Okay. Yes, Vasudevan Prabhu.
Sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize.
No problem.
I can do it.
Okay. Anyway, now we will give a chance to Vasudevanji. So Vasudevan Prabhu, I'll be reciting the verse. Please recite together with me. Okay. Kamasya nendriya pritir.
Kamasya nendriya priti.
Labho jiveta yavata.
Labho jiveta yavata.
Jivasya tattva jigyasa.
Jivasya tattva jigyasa.
Na artho yascheha karma bhi.
na artho yashteha karmabhi.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Let us see what is being discussed in this verse. Desires should be directed for tattva jigyasa. Desires should be directed for tattva jigyasa. Let us see how this verse unfolds to that message. Kamasya na indriya pritir. Kamasya na indriya pritir. So kamasya means desire. Na indriya. Indriya means senses. Pritir. Pritir means gratification of senses. Love of the senses. Kamasya na indriya pritir. So desires are not to be directed for sense gratification. Our desires, we have desires, and they should not be directed towards sense gratification. And then what should be the desires directed towards? Labho jiveta yavata. Labho jiveta yavata. Labho means the material gain, and material gain should be used for what? Jivet yavata. Jivet means for jivan, for self-preservation and for healthy living. Gain is to be used for self-preservation, for healthy living. So what does it mean? If we have any material gain, then we should be using that material gain for self-preservation. Self-preservation means that we are living comfortably, we are eating sufficiently, we are eating healthy food, we are having sufficient accommodation for our protection, like that. And it should not be done for indriya pritir. It should not be done for sense gratification. Like, for example, we have some material gain, we are living our comfortable life, maybe we have a conveyance, we have a car, but now one fine day we see our neighbor also gets another car, and that car is probably a better car, or a maybe more costlier car, or maybe a more beautiful car. Then we develop this desire. We develop this desire that I should also have a better car than the car of my neighbor. Like that, our life is built upon many desires. So this is what is being mentioned here. Kamasya na indriya pritir. Our desire should not be for indriya priti. And what kind of sense gratification we are doing by having that kind of a desire for material gain? We are actually satisfying our mind. We are satisfying our ego, that we are also having a better possession than our neighbor. So this is what is being mentioned. Labho jivet yavata. Labho jivet yavata means just have that much which actually satisfy you, which actually is sufficient enough for self-preservation, which is healthy. Now it does not mean that you should not have anything more. Self-preservation does not mean that you need meal, breakfast, lunch and dinner. So only earn that much that you have your breakfast available, your lunch available and your dinner available. But maybe you can have something more. For example, you can keep something for emergencies. Maybe emergencies like, maybe for example, recently we saw COVID or coronavirus pandemic. So we can, many people lost jobs during this coronavirus pandemic. So you can have something extra. Maybe if you lose your job, you can continue to sustain yourself, or maybe you can accumulate a little bit more, that in future I will need some more money for my children education, for my children marriage, and maybe for some other other need that will keep your living as sufficient. So gain should be used for self-preservation and healthy living. But ultimately, what should be our desires should be directed towards? Ultimately, our desires should be directed towards jivasya tattva jigyasa. This is the main message here. Our desires should be directed for inquiring about the absolute truth. Living entity is meant for inquiring about the absolute truth. Tattva jigyasa. Jigyasa means curiosity. Tattva means what? Absolute truth. So jivasya here means living entity. So living entity is meant for inquiring about the absolute truth. And then na artho yash cheha karma bhi. A prescribed duty should not have any other goal. So again, prescribed duty. Karma bhi. Karma. So the word karma could have multiple meanings. So one meaning of word karma is prescribed duties. This is my karma. This is my karma means this is actually my occupational duty. And then the another meaning of karma could be the sinful reactions. So here the word karma actually is used here in the context of prescribed duties. Na artho yash cheha karma bhi. So prescribed duties should not have any other goal. And what other goal? Other than jivasya tattva jigyasa, there should not be any other goal for the living entity. And let us see what Prabhupada is mentioning in the purports. Vasudevan Prabhu, this one can
Yes,
you read?
Prabhuji. Shall I read?
Yes, Prabhu.
Blind leaders, blind followers. In the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another to fulfill their personal sense gratification. The voters adore the so-called leaders only when they promise sense gratification.
Yeah. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is making a very important point here. In this verse, the main point mentioned here is what should be the main desire for the living entity. The main desire for living entity should be tattva jigyasa. And what do we see in the society today is specifically the political leaders. Are these political leaders interested in tattva jigyasa? Are these political leaders inspiring their subjects, inspiring their people whom they are ruling for tattva jigyasa? No. And this is actually could also be the basis how you should select a political leader. So here Prabhupada is referring here, in the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another to fulfill their personal sense gratification. The leaders of men fight with one another to fulfill their personal sense gratification. Now, if you see, if you would watch the news these days, there is a lot of discussion. You would see many political parties will announce freebies. So if we come to power, we will give power free. If we come to power, we will give water free. What actually these political leaders are trying to do? Simply trying to gratify the senses of their subjects. And many times the people also fall prey to these kind of leaders, and the people are also kind of blind. The voters adore the so-called leaders only when they promise sense gratification. So the leaders are also blind and the followers are also blind. Blind in what sense? They don't know actually what should be the goal of life. The goal of life should be tattva jigyasa. If a political leader is not inclined towards tattva jigyasa, certainly a political leader may have to do something attractive for attracting some people. It cannot be ignorant towards the material needs of the people. Certainly that is one of the aspects. But ultimately, the leader also should have some idea of tattva jigyasa and should be favorable, should be positive towards that tattva jigyasa. Then you see, now Prabhupada is making another important point, that because he's talking about tattva jigyasa, does that mean that we should not have any sense gratification? We should simply leave everything and then only go to do tattva jigyasa, just to run after absolute truth only for that purpose? Now, if we can do that, maybe with single-minded determination, that should be good. But for common people, generally for people, that is not the case. So what Prabhupada is saying here, he's saying sense gratification is to be regulated. Vasudevan Prabhu, can you please read this?
Sense gratification is to be regulated because the body is made of senses, which also require a certain amount of satisfaction. There are regulative directions for satisfaction of such senses, but the senses are not meant for unrestricted enjoyment. For example, marriage.
Yeah. So what Prabhupada is saying is that certainly we have the body, we have the senses, and senses have some needs. Senses have some needs, but these needs should be regulated. These needs are not something like a open license. It's not an unlimited license to enjoy and to do unrestricted sense enjoyment. No, that is not the case. And he gives an example of marriage. So in marriage, the men and women come together to create a progeny, but only for the purpose of creating progeny. If they are doing this kind of sense enjoyment, that is good, but those sense enjoyment should not go on for unrestricted in an unrestricted way. So this is what here Prabhupada is trying to say, that ultimately we have to do tattva jigyasa. That is the prime objective. But that does not mean that we completely ignore the needs of the body. we should do some self-preservation. We should live healthily. We should live sufficiently well. We should eat good food. We should also keep something extra for our emergency, for our children education, etc., etc. We should do all that, but ultimately we should keep our goal very focused. Tattva jigyasa. Ultimately, we have to reach to this level of tattva jigyasa. That is the prime message. Okay. Now, because in the previous verse, Sut Goswami has talked about tattva. He has talked about tattva. In the very next verse, in the 11th verse, he is now talking about what actually is meant by tattva. He is giving the definition of tattva, and this is a very, very important verse. You would see Prabhupada quoting this verse multiple times in his books. So, would request Vasudevan Prabhu once again to recite this verse.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Vadanti tat tattvidas.
Vadanti tat tattvavidas.
Tattvam yajnanam advayam.
Tattvam yajnanam advayam.
Brahmeti paramatmeti.
Brahmeti paramatmeti.
Bhagwan iti shabdate.
Bhagwan iti shabdate.
Yeah, it's a very technical verse, philosophically very deep. Technical in the sense that it involves understanding of various nuances like Brahma, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan, and so on. So, but we will try to make it as simple as for you. Here, in the previous verse, Sut Goswami mentioned Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa. So, in the very next verse, he's telling about what is that Tattva, what is the quality, characteristic of that Tattva. And he starts with Vadanti Tattva Vidas. Vadanti Tat Tattva Vidas. Tat. Here the word Tat means what? That. That means that is actually referring to what? The absolute truth. Vadanti. Vadanti means it is said. It is said about that absolute truth by Tattva Vidas. Tattva Vidas means those who are learned, those who know the Tattva. Tattva Vidas means people who know the Tattva. So the learned souls say about that means about that absolute truth. Tattvam yajnanam advayam. That tattvam means the absolute truth. What is the quality of that absolute truth? That yajnanam advayam. The knowledge of which is advayam. Advayam means non-dual. Non-dual means there is nothing second about it. It is one only. It is one only. So Vadanti tat vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam. And what is that knowledge? Brahmeti paramatmeti. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan iti shabdate. It is called as Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagwan. Brahma, actually it should be Brahman. There is one N missing here. So Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. Now, what is the meaning of the word Advayam? What is the meaning of the word Advayam? As I mentioned in the verse, the meaning of the word is Advayam is non-dual. So if you read the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, specifically Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentary, you would see that the word Advayam has been described in multiple ways. So in order to keep the class simple, in order to not to go into too much technical detail, I would give you a little simple meaning which will sound much more comfortable to you. So this absolute truth has a quality which is Advayam. Advayam means there is nothing second about it. Advayam means there is no two about it. So it is one and only, and there is no second. Advayam. Like for example, we have this word in Sanskrit, Asamardhva. Asamardhva means neither equal nor greater. So there is nobody who is greater than Lord Krishna, and there is nobody who is equal to Lord Krishna, or who is greater than the absolute truth, or who is equal to the absolute truth. So that is the simple meaning of the word Advayam. So Vadanti tat vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam. So the knowledge about this absolute truth is that he is Advayam. Advayam means it is Asamardhva. There is nobody equal than this absolute truth, and there is nobody greater than this absolute truth. So that is a simple meaning which for our preliminary understanding, we can start understanding this verse. And then Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwan iti Shabdyate. And it is known as Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagwan. It is called as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. So learned souls say about this absolute truth that it is non-dual and it is known by three features. These three features are Brahman, the second feature is Paramatma, and the third feature is Bhagwan. So that is how I would try to explain this particular verse, which is a little technical in nature. And let us see what we find in the purport of Srila Prabhupada. So who was reading this for me? Vasudevan Prabhu, can you read this?
Yes, Prabhuji. One absolute truth, but three different perspectives. Those who are perfect seers of the absolute truth know well that the above three features of the one absolute truth are different perspective views seen from different angles of vision.
Yeah. So those who are perfect seers of the absolute truth know well that the above three features of the one absolute truth, here again you can see the word Advayam. Advayam means it is one only, it is not three, it is not different. Like if we say Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan, they are all the same, they are not different. So one absolute are three different perspective views seen from different angles of vision. Now let us see what Prabhupada is trying to say, different angles of vision. Let us pick one object. For example, I pick a mountain. Now mountain is a mountain. There is no other definition of mountain. One mountain means mountain. We cannot call mountain a river, or we cannot call mountain a sky. Mountain is mountain. So that way mountain is clear, it is mountain. But mountain can be seen in three different angles of vision. The mountain will appear different if seen from different angles of vision. What does it mean? For example, if I see mountain from 20 kilometers, the mountain will appear like a triangle. It will appear like a blurred object, a shady object, right, when seen from a very far distance. So that is one vision of mountain. But if I come very close, say for example only 1 kilometer or maybe 500 meters, now I see the mountain. Now on the mountain I can see there are trees, there are some streams of river also flowing from the mountain. Now the same mountain, the one absolute truth, or the same mountain which I was seeing from 50 kilometers, now when coming and closer is appearing in a very different way, is looking very different. And now I move even further. I now even actually climb on top of the mountain. Now I reach and stand on the mountain itself. Now when I go inside the mountain, standing within on the top of the mountain, I see that on the mountain there are houses also. There are people also living in those houses. There are shops also. There is some trade and commerce also going in that region. Now this is another angle of vision. This is even closer angle of vision. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is trying to say, that one absolute truth can be understood as Brahman when seen from very far distance, can be understood as Paramatma, or when seen a little closer, and can be seen as Bhagavan also when seen even closer. So Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, these are three different angles of vision when we see one absolute truth. But that absolute truth is the same. Like the mountain is same, but that same mountain appears in a different way when seen from different angles of vision. So this is one analogy. In our other classes also, like I recall in Sri Ishopanishad class, I gave another analogy of gulab jamun. Now gulab jamun is a sweet which everyone knows. It's a very famous sweet and a delicacy. Now assume that if somebody has not eaten a gulab jamun or has not seen gulab jamun in his life, only this person knows what is the smell of gulab jamun. So he or she has some understanding of gulab jamun, that is only the smell. Only he could or she could smell the gulab jamun. But then he has some understanding of gulab jamun, that okay, gulab jamun smells like in a particular way. But then if that person is also gets an opportunity to see the gulab jamun, now his understanding of gulab jamun improves. Oh, it's a round object, it is brown in color, probably it is soft to touch, etc., etc. He has some understanding of gulab jamun, probably better than the understanding he had a little while ago. So gulab jamun as smell and gulab jamun also as shape. But then that person also now happens or get the chance to eat the gulab jamun. Now he can taste the gulab jamun also. Now while tasting the gulab jamun, he can smell the gulab jamun also, and he can actually feel the shape of the gulab jamun also. So the same gulab jamun can be understood at 3 different levels of knowledge: at the level of smell, at the level of shape, at the level of taste. But the one who has the taste of gulab jamun actually knows all the 3 aspects. So this is what is being mentioned by Srila Prabhupada here. Those who are perfect seers of absolute truth know well that the above 3 features of one absolute truth are different perspective views seen from different angles of vision. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain here, that it is understood as Brahman. When it is understood as Brahman, what is the understanding? The understanding is that it is all consciousness. Everywhere it is consciousness. There is nothing else. How do we understand this? That everything is consciousness. Now let me explain you with a simple example. Right now, I am speaking to you. I am speaking this Srimad Bhagavatam subject matter to you. So, and you are the listener. So there is a screen in between, and through that screen, I am reaching out to you. So there is a stream of consciousness which is following from me to you through the screen. And then from where this stream of consciousness is coming? This stream of consciousness is coming from me, and actually it is being intercepted by you, the listener. But so there are 3 things. There are 3 things. There is the speaker. The consciousness is coming from the speaker, and then there is a receiver, or there are people who are listening and they are receiving that consciousness. So when we say Brahman, there is only consciousness. There is no concept of the speaker and there is no concept of the listener. No, there is only pure consciousness that is moving from. There is only pure consciousness. There is no concept of the speaker and the neither the subject nor the object. No, that is Brahman. But then move a little further. We have this concept of Paramatma. So the Paramatma concept actually means knowledge is also there. And how this knowledge is coming? This Paramatma is actually means that in every living entity, there is this super soul. And this super soul actually knows everything about that living entity. Now remember the chapter in Bhagavad Gita where we are talking about Kshetra and Kshetragya. Jnanam and Gyayam. Kshetra and Kshetragya. So Kshetra means the body and Kshetragya means the knower of the body. And we discussed there are 2 Kshetragyas. This is one is the soul, the living entity, and the super soul, the Paramatma. So the Paramatma is there in all the living entities. And the analogy given is like if there is sun, and then there are multiple pots of water on the ground, then the sun reflection will be seen in all the pots of these water. So this is actually that is how the absolute truth expands. The absolute truth expands and reaches out to every living entity in the universe. This is called Paramatma feature. So not only it is consciousness, but that consciousness also knows. So here now you can see there is one entity also is being mentioned here, that Paramatma knows about the activities of the living entity. So like I am saying, I am the speaker, the consciousness is flowing and you are the listener. So here in the second concept, there is in the Paramatma concept, there is a further development of the understanding that besides consciousness, there is also a Kshetragya, there is also a knower and the knowledge. That is the second understanding. But then the third understanding is Bhagavan understanding, and in this Bhagavan understanding there is Ananda. Now, what this Bhagavan means, that this absolute truth is not only a consciousness, but not only the knower of all the activities, but it also actually is the person. As a person, this particular entity, the absolute truth, has some likes and dislikes, he has some activities, he has a name, he has a form, he has a qualities, etc., etc. So like that, from only the pure consciousness understanding to the understanding that it is pervading everywhere and knows everything, we come to the concept of Bhagwan, which means that it is not only consciousness, it is pervading everywhere, but actually it is an individual living entity also. It is an individual personality also. So this is the understanding of the absolute truth. So like that, we can explain this verse. Okay, so this is in the picture form. So Brahman actually means, now let us start from here, Lord Krishna. You see here on the right, the Bhagwan aspect. Here, Bhagwan aspect, you see Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani, where we can see that Lord Krishna is a person. He likes to play flute. He has his consort Srimati Radhika Rani, from whom she would have his exchanges of devotional exchanges. But then you also see there's a Brahma Jyoti here. There is a effulgence around the Lord. This is actually the Brahma Jyoti feature of the Lord. And then in the picture in the middle, you can see that how this form of Lord Krishna expands into the form of Paramatma. This is the Paramatma form, where he is in the form of Vishnu. He has 4 arms, Shankh, Chakra, Gada, Padma. And then in the form of Paramatma, he is actually managing the affairs of the universe. While he is managing the affairs of the universe, he expands and enters into all the living entities. And then you can see the Brahman effulgence even emanating from this Paramatma feature. This Brahman effulgence, these rays that you see are also in the Paramatma feature. And here we see Brahman only. Brahman means the bright Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence coming out from the body of the Lord. So this is the understanding of the absolute truth. So one who understands the Bhagavan feature understands the Paramatma feature also and the Brahman feature also. Okay, let us move to the next verse. And maybe I would request Manish Prabhu to kindly help me recite this 12th verse. So
Yes,
Manish ji, can you unmute?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Now I will give you a little background. In the previous verse, we have discussed about the absolute truth. What is that absolute truth? Now in the 12th verse, Sut Goswami is saying that we can realize this absolute truth through bhakti. The process of understanding the absolute truth is bhakti. Okay. Tat Shraddhadhana Muniyo.
Tat Shraddhadhana Muniyo.
Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya.
Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya.
Pashyanti Atmani Chatmanam.
Pashyanti Atmanani Chaityamanam.
Pashyanti Atmani Cha Atmanam.
Pashyanti Atmani Chaityamanam.
Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya.
Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya.
Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya.
Bhakta Shruta Grihitaya.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. So let us see line by line. Tat Shraddhadhana Muniyo. Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya. Now here, Sud Goswami is referring to those people. How do people actually realize the absolute truth, the tattva? Tat Shraddhadhanaya Muniyo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya. Those sincere and curious sages. Shraddhadhana. Shraddhadhana Muniyo. Muniyo means sages. Shraddhadhana means sincere and curious. Tat Shraddhadhana Muniyo. Those sincere and curious sages. And what are the qualities of these sages? Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya. Full of knowledge and renunciation. So they have no material business, or they have less material business. They are inclined towards jnana. They are inclined towards renunciation. Jnana means jnana is spiritual knowledge, spiritual quest. Those sincere and curious sages, full of knowledge and renunciation. Pashyanti Atmani Cha Atmanam. Pashyanti Atmani Cha Atmanam. How do they realize this absolute truth? they realize the absolute truth in their heart. Pashyanti Atmani Cha Atmanam. Now here you will see the word Atma has been repeated twice. Atmani and Atmanam. Atmanam. So Atmani and Atmanam. So here the first Atmani means the heart, in the mind or the heart, and the Atmanam means the Lord. Now the word Atma could have several meanings. The Atma could mean either soul. The Atma could also mean the mind. The Atma could also means the Paramatma or the super soul. So here you will see Pashyanti Atmani Cha Atmanam. So here the first Atmani means the mind or the heart, or Cha Atmanam means the Lord. Like you will see, words could have different meanings. For example, if I see mobile, now mobile could also mean movable. One person who can move from one place to the another person, that is called mobile. And mobile could also mean the mobile phone, the equipment or the instrument that we use for communication. So similarly, like coconut can also mean can have different meanings. So if somebody is in the kitchen and making dhokla, and he's asking, can you give me some coconut? Then the meaning is that the person is asking for grated coconut. Now, if the same person is sitting in a yajna and is asking for coconut, so the coconut would mean that the dried up coconut is asking. And if you are in a restaurant and you ask for coconut, then the coconut could mean the coconut where the water is there and you can sip that water from the coconut. So one word could have several meanings. Similarly, in Sanskrit, the one word like Atma could have several meanings. Here, one word Atma means heart and the other word Atma means the Supreme Lord, Paramatma. So what is the meaning of the first three lines? The first three lines is saying, those sincere and curious sages, full of knowledge and renunciation, realize in their heart the Lord. How do they realize the Lord in their heart? Bhaktya Shruta Grihitya. Bhaktya Shruta Grihitya. Through bhakti. This bhaktya means through bhakti. And how do they receive bhakti? Shruta Grihitya. Grihitya means Grahan Karna. Grahan Karna means to receive. As received through the Vedas. As received through the Vedas. Shruta. Shruta actually means Shrutis. Shruti means the Vedas. As received through the Vedas. So here you would see how this absolute truth is realized. So Sud Goswami, first of all, in the series of verses, first of all, say that Varnashram, the purpose of Varnashram is to develop attraction towards the Lord. And then he condemns that in Varnashram we should not hanker after material gain. In Varnashram, actually we should strive for liberation. And then he mentions in the next verse that the desires should be directed for tattva jigyasa and should not be directed towards any other purpose. And then he explains what is the tattva, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. And then in 12th verse he is giving what is the process of realizing that tattva, and the process is again bhakti. And this bhakti, how do you receive this bhakti? We receive this bhakti through Shruta Grihitya, by Vedas. Let us read this paragraph. Manish ji?
Yes. From whom should one learn about the absolute truth? The third class devotee, therefore, has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instruction of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Sukdev Goswami, like Sutta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-round benefit of all people.
Yes. So now you should understand here in this verse, Sutta Goswami is giving the process of bhakti. So process of bhakti, Shruta Grahitya, as received through the Vedas, through the Shrutis. So how do we receive this knowledge? Here Srila Prabhupada in his purport is telling that a third class devotee means a neophyte, a beginner, one who has just begun this devotional service, therefore has to go to the personality of devotee. Personality of devotee means who is an advanced devotee. like we have studied in our Updeshamrit classes, that the devotees are of three classes: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, or Uttama Adhikari. So personality of a devotee could mean the either the Uttama Adhikari, or it could also be a Madhyama Adhikari. So the Kanishta Adhikari, or the person who has just started devotional service, should receive this knowledge from somebody senior in devotional service, in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man. So this person should not be a professional man who is simply doing the business of Bhagavatam, simply for gaining some money, some material benefit. He is teaching Bhagavatam. Such a devotee should be a representative of Shukadev Goswami, like Suta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-round benefit of all people. All around benefit. All actually should be all-round benefit. All-round benefit means for complete benefit of all these people. So that should be the purpose of such a person. Now here you will see one more line Srila Prabhupada mentioned in his purport is, when we talk about Vedas, Shrutis, when we talk about Vedas, Shrutis, so Shrutis actually refer to all kind of Vedic literature. All kind of Vedic literature means, it also means Smritis, it should also means Puranas, it should also means Pancharatras, it should also means Itihasas. So all categories of these literature falls is fall under the category of Shruti. So we have one verse that we read in our Nectar of Devotion classes also. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Panchratra Vidhim Vina Ekantaki Harer Bhaktir Utpat Evahi Kalpate. Ekantake Harir Bhaktir Utpat Evahi Kalpate. So if we are not basing our bhakti, if we are not making the basis of Puranas, the Shrutis, the Pancharatras, the Smritis, if you are not making the basis of these books as the basis of our bhakti, Ekantaki Harer Bhakti. Ekantaki means by doing bhakti according to our own ideas. Ekantaki. Ekantaki means alone. If we are doing bhakti alone, then Utpat Evahi Kalpate. Then it is only going to create Utpat. Utpat means disturbance. So this is the idea. Okay. Manishji, once again.
Yes. Yeah.
Atha Pumbir Dvijashrestha.
Atha Punbir Dvijashrestha.
Varnashrama Vibhagasha.
Varnashrama Vibhagasha.
Swanushtistasya dharmasya.
Swanushtistasya dharmasya.
Samsiddhir haritoshanam.
Samasiddhir haritoshanam.
Okay. Now here Suta Goswami is concluding his discussion. Ataha. Ata means therefore. So he has made up a point. He has given some argument, and then he's saying, therefore, Pumbhir Dvija Shrestha. Therefore, O best of sages, Dvija. Dvija means twice born. Twice born means a Brahmana is twice born. Once he takes birth from the womb of his mother. Next time when he is getting initiated from the spiritual master, that is the second birth. So, Ata Pumbhir Dvija Shrestha. O best of the sages. Swanishtistasya dharmasya. So I am bringing the third line earlier. Doing various duties according to one's inclination. Swanishtistasya dharmasya. Varnashrama vibhagsha. According to different divisions of Varnashrama. What is it? Samsiddhir haritoshanam. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. So ultimately, what is this Varnashram supposed to do? The duties that different Varnas, the different ashramas are there in Varnashram, and people are doing different duties. The ultimate perfection is Samsiddhir. The all perfection is Samsiddhir means the perfect, the highest perfection is what? Haritoshanam. Haritoshanam. So this word is a very nice word. Haritoshanam. Toshanam of Hari. Satisfaction of Hari. So as I mentioned, Suta Goswami started arguing that Varnashram is not the topmost essence of the scripture. The purpose of Varnashram is actually to move towards Bhakti Yoga, and there in the 8th verse, Suta Goswami actually mentioned is that if the Varnashram system does not generate attraction towards the Katha of the Vishwaksen, then it is only Shrama. It is only useless labor. And in 13th verse, he is concluding his discussion by saying that the highest perfection actually of Varnashram is satisfaction of Lord Hari. Hari Toshnam. That is the topmost perfection. Okay. Manish ji?
Yes. Purpose of Varnashrama. The Varnashrama institution is constructed to enable one to realize the absolute truth. It is not for artificial domination of one division over another.
Yes, bro. Just 1 minute. So it is not for artificial domination of one division over another. Now, what is Varnashram? I recently delivered a class on Ishopanishad mantra number 1. And there I elaborately discussed about what is Varnashram and how Varnashram system is the perfect system of social arrangement. So there are multiple systems of social arrangement, and in that class, in the Ishopanishad class, I had discussed about one social arrangement could be communist arrangement, one another social arrangement could be capitalist arrangement. So there are different ideologies, different thoughts, school of thoughts. How should we organize our society? So communists say that everyone is equal and the resources of society should be divided equal to everyone. Socialists say no, we are different, differently talented. So those who are more talented should have more share on the resources of the society. So that is the idea. But each of these systems, like socialist and the communist, or the capitalist or the communist, have different deficiencies. But Varnashram system does not have that deficiency. Why? Because Varnashram system addresses the bodily needs, the mental needs, as well as the spiritual needs. How the bodily and mental needs are addressed? Through the process of Varna. Process of Varna means those who are inclined towards certain activities, they are given that kind of activity in the Varnashram system. So if you are inclined towards reading, studying, etc., you become a Brahmana. So like that, a person satisfies bodily need, his mental need. He is satisfied at the bodily level, at the mental level. But at the ashrama level, the training is spiritual in nature. Spiritual nature means that as a brahmachari, he reads Vedas, he understands that what is the absolute truth under the guidance of a spiritual master. Once he enters the grahastha ashram, he accepts a spouse, and with the company of the spouse, he actually try to make his home as an ashrama. Ashrama means where the Lord's service is at the center. So the idea is through this ashrama division, the person actually becomes spiritual in nature. Once he understands that actually the main purpose of life is to satisfy the Lord, and it is not to exploit the resources of the Lord, exploit the other living entities of the Lord. So through this, both the systems, satisfaction at the bodily, at the mental level, and satisfaction at the level of soul, a complete satisfaction individual emerges in the society. And when one individual in the society is satisfied, the whole society is satisfied. So this is what Prabhupada is mentioning here. The Varnashram institution is constructed to enable one to realize the absolute truth. Because once people are satisfied spiritually, materially, mentally, then only they can properly engage into the inquiry of the absolute truth. Then only they can satisfactorily, peacefully do that inquiry. But the deformative part of Varnashram is that one Varna, the superior Varna, actually start to dominate the Varna which is inferior in nature, which is at the lower level. So the purpose of Varnashram is not artificial dominion over the other division. Prabhuji, can you read the second one?
Yeah. When is Varnashrama misused? When the aim of life is missed by too much attachment for sense gratification, the institution of the Varnashrama is utilized by selfish man to pose an artificial predominance over the weaker section.
Yeah. So now you see why this Varnashram system collapses. The Varnashram system collapses when the spiritual aspect becomes weak. Then the Varnashram system start to collapse. For example, if the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, so the Brahmanas are those persons who understand the absolute truth well and who understand the Vedas well, and they can communicate the message of the Vedas to the lower segments of the society, like the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas and the Shudras. And the Kshatriyas would actually implement this because they have Shastra, they have weapon, they have administrative qualities. they would implement what they will learn from these Brahmanas. And that's how the Varnashram system will prosper. But when the Brahmanical segment of the society and the Kshatriya segment of the society becomes corrupt, Brahmana thinks that we are the superior ones, and the public should follow what we are saying, and they don't have the all-round development of people at the center of their heart. So they become selfish. They become selfish. When they become selfish, then the predominance, the artificial predominance means, what does the word artificial means? They don't inspire people. They simply demand respect, but they don't command respect. Demand respect means, I am the boss, you should follow me. Command respect means the boss displays quality of humility, quality of compassion, quality of welfare of people at the center of the heart of the leader. When the leader shows these kind of qualities, he's capable, he's helping in nature, resourceful in nature, then the people automatically accept the domination of that leader. That is called commanding respect. But demanding respect means, I am the vice president of the company, everyone should follow me. So that doesn't happen, that doesn't work. So when the Varnashram system, the Brahmanical society or the Brahmanical class became self-righteous, we are the boss, then the whole Varnashram system started to collapse. Okay. Now I would request, Manish ji, once again.
Yes, Prabhu.
Tasmadekena manasa
Tasmad ekena manasa
Bhagavan Satvatam Pati
Bhagavan Satvatam Pati
Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha
Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha
Dheya Pujyascha Nityada.
Dheya Pujyasya Nityada.
Okay. Now here Sut Goswami is saying Tasmad. Therefore, with one-mindedness, ekena manasa. Manasa means mind. Therefore, with one-mindedness, what do? Shrotavya kirtitavyascha. You hear about the Lord, you glorify the Lord, and then dhyaya pujya cha nityada, and then remember the Lord and worship the Lord. So hear, glorify, remember, and worship. So 4 things. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hear, glorify, remember, and worship. Always, nityada. Do this always, not part-time business. Always. And then what will happen? And for whom you should do? You should do it for Bhagavan Satvatam Patihi. You should do it for the Lord. You should hear about the Lord. You should glorify the Lord. You should remember the Lord. You should worship the Lord. And what kind of Lord is this? This Lord is Satvatam Patihi. Satvatam means devotees, sadhus. Pati means the protector. Who is the protector of devotees? So here he is concluding his discussion. Therefore, with one-mindedness, hear, glorify, remember, and worship the Lord, who is the protector of devotees. Manish ji?
Yeah. Redirect tendency to hear and glorify towards Krishna. The tendency to glorify others or hear others must be turned to the real object of glorification, the Supreme Being, and that will bring happiness.
And that will bring happiness. You see always, everywhere you will see the formula for happiness. The formula for happiness is about hearing about the Lord and glorifying the Lord. So here Prabhupada in his purport is saying that we all have tendencies to glorify others. We all have tendencies to hear glorification of others and speak the glorification of others. So rather than focusing our tendencies to hear the glorification of others, better we use this tendency, we redirect this tendency to hear about the Supreme Being. So in political circles, the people of a political party are glorifying their leader, and the leader is hearing his glorification. So rather than that, this tendency for hearing and glorifying is already there in us. Rather than doing it for others, we should do it for the Supreme Lord. And what will happen with that? That will bring happiness. Hearing about others will not bring happiness. Okay. Okay, now I would request Vidya Mataji. Vidya Mataji, are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So one last verse, if you can help me.
Sure.
Okay. Yad anudhyasina yukta.
Yad anudasina yukta.
Karma granthi nibandhanam.
Karam granthi nibandhanam.
Chindanti ko vidastasya. Chindanti Kovidas
tasya
Chindanti Kovidas
tasya
Kona Kuryat Katharatim. Very nice, very nice. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now here in the previous verse, Sut Goswami is talking about hear and glorify. Here in this verse, he is talking about what is the benefit of hearing and glorification. So here he is saying, Yad Anudhya Asina Yukta. Yad Anudhya Asina Yukta. Anudhya means remembrance. Asina means sword, talwar. Yukta means equipped with. So equipped with the sword of the remembrance of Lord. So if you are doing remembrance of the Lord, so what it is like a sword. It is like a sword. And who use this sword? Intelligent people use this sword. For what purpose? It is saying Chindanti Kovidastasya. Kovida means intelligent. Chindanti means to cut. Intelligent men cut. Using this sword, intelligent men cut. What do they cut? Karma Granthi Nibandhanam. Karma Granthi Nibandhanam. Nibandhanam means bandhan. Bandhan means bondage. Granthi means knot. So when you tie a knot, you are bound. You are bound. So here, remembrance of the Lord is like a sword. Intelligent men use this remembrance as the sword of remembrance to cut the knot of the bondage of karma. Bondage of karma. Here the karma means the sinful reactions. So like I mentioned to you previously, the word karma actually means prescribed duties, kartavya. Here the word karma means sinful reactions. And then if that is the case, then Sud Goswami is making a rhetorical question. He's saying, Kona Kuryat Katharatim. Then who then will not develop attraction for the topics of the Lord? Katharatim. Katharatim. Ratim means attraction. Katha means topics. The Katha. Kona Kuryat Katharatim. Kona. Who will then not develop attraction for the topics of the Lord? So the remembrance of the Lord is so powerful that it cuts the bandhan of karma. And then since it cuts the bandhan of karma, everyone actually should be interested to develop the attraction for the topics of the Lord. So coming to our last slide, Vidya Mataji, one by one.
Yes, thank you. How is the one tied in this material world? The contact of spiritual spark with material elements creates a knot which must be cut if one wants to be liberated from the actions and reactions of fruitive work.
Yeah. So creates a knot. Creates a knot means the contact of spiritual spark. Spiritual spark means soul. And material elements means what? The prakriti. So when the soul comes in the contact with body and prakriti at large, then the soul develops attraction. And this attraction creates knots. Because this attraction forces the soul to remain in this material world. So this is what Prabhupada is saying, that how this knot is cut, which must be cut. So then the second one is how it is cut.
How is it cut? How is it cut? Constant association with the spiritual activities of the Supreme Lord gradually spiritualizes the conditioned soul and ultimately severs a knot of material bondage.
So what here Prabhupada is saying is that constant association with spiritual activities of the Supreme Lord gradually spiritualizes. So when we come in contact with spiritual activities, we do the arti, we hear the katha, we serve the devotees, we do many devotional services. Then what is the result? It spiritualizes us. Like for example, Prabhupada used to give this analogy, like we have iron rod. And if I keep this iron rod in fire, then the iron becomes hot. So iron picks up the quality of fire if it is coming in contact with fire. Similarly, the iron like jiva, when it comes in contact with fire like spiritual message, then the jiva also becomes spiritualized. And what this spiritualization do? This spiritualization severs the knot of material bondage. Severs the knot of material bondage. So it is how it is cut? It is cut through the contact of spiritual subject. Then the third point.
Liberation is a byproduct. Liberation from material bondage is therefore a byproduct of devotional service.
A byproduct of devotional service. So what does it mean here? Here it is being, here in this verse we are talking about karma granthi nibandhanam, or cutting the karma granthi, cutting our karma phala. But here devotional activity is not done mainly for cutting karma phala. Actually, it is done primarily for katha ratim, for developing the remembrance of the Lord, and not for simply cutting the karma granthi. So karma granthi, the liberation or cutting the karma granthi is only simply a byproduct. But actual product is what? Actual product is the spiritualization that happens through this process, the remembrance of the Lord. And once we remember the Lord, our path to back to Godhead is fixed, is certain. Okay, so this is all for today. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Takeaways and comments and questions now we can discuss. Thank you very much. I hope the class was clear.
Yes, Prabhu.
Mataji's and Prabhu's. Okay, very nice. So, any question you have? Any question? Any comments? It's very silent. Looks like everything was very clear, or maybe. So meanwhile, you are thinking of questions. Let me welcome Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, Vijay Lakshmi Mataji. Vijay Lakshmi Mataji, thank you. You are back. I saw your comment last time. I think you had made a remark in the chat box that we are going verse by verse, and that will take a lot of time and probably will not be able to finish it. Yes, Mataji. So yeah. I think you made that remark, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. Okay. So sorry, I could not see that remark last time.
Yeah. Today it was. I would say it was the perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
so
today.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
No, Prabhu. Last week, last class, I felt that when you are going into elaboration of word by word, maybe like we will concentrate on the language and we may miss out the philosophy. But this time you have given it line by line. It made it even more nice. Like I felt.
Okay.
I think I liked it.
You should thank Anupama Mataji. You should thank Anupama Mataji for that.
This was her. Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
She gave that feedback to me last time, and that is why here. Okay. I understand you are our Viji Mataji from Shobha City, right?
Yes, Prabhu. I am Viji Mataji living in Karinita.
Right. Sorry. Okay.
Because you have mentioned the full name, I had put full names logging in.
Okay. That is good. I was mistaking you from with some other lady when I saw last time your comment. So now it is clear.
Oh. Okay, Prabhu.
See, the point is, Mataji, because first 2-3 chapters is a lot of philosophy is there and very important subject matter is being discussed. So we are going a little slow. And once the storyline starts, which probably starts from 4th chapter, we will move fast. Probably we will do 1 chapter in 1 class or maybe at the most in 2 classes. That's what would be our speed would be. And by the end of maybe one year, maybe in 12 months, our target is to finish 2 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1 and Canto 2. That is the speed we will take.
Okay.
In all, I think we will cover, almost 30 chapters in 1 year, including the quiz.
That is why. Yes. Because our class is happening only once a week.
Yes.
I had this apprehension, before we reach the Leelas of Krishna. Right, there are lot, the 9 cantos we are going to cover, right? So that was that.
Yeah. So Prabhupada has advised to read Bhagavatam from the beginning in a
I'm
sequence.
going like that only, Prabhu. That is why I told you. 6 years it has taken for me to come to 9.
Okay. And Srila Rupa Goswami has mentioned that you should relish the meaning of the different meanings of the word that are mentioned in the Bhagavatam verses. So we are trying to
balance
both the aspects. Okay.
You're doing a wonderful job, Prabhu. There is no doubt on that. When it comes to Bhagavad Gita, it is only 700 odd, but this is some thousands and thousands, right? So that is why I was making this comment.
No problem. Thank you, Mataji. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Ishwar.
Yeah. Very wonderful class. Again, things were really put in our heart in a big way. I have only one suggestion to make. When we start with the stories, can we sort of omit certain stories which seem to trivialize the concept? Say, for example, we often talk about Ajamil. And last time it was told that he had a son with the name
okay.
Narayana, and by just saying Narayana, things became all right for it. Because these are the things which sometimes sort of mislead people, that they do wrong things and say Narayana, they will be fine. I think that kind of message should be avoided. So we go for only those stories which are really the hallmark, the character of and the.
So when you will come to that Ajamil pastime, when we will discuss this Ajamil pastime in great detail, I will actually respond to this query that you are making. In short, what I will try to say is that when Narayana, when Ajamil spoke Narayana, he was only saved from those Yamdutas. So many people say that, okay, so do all kind of mischief in life, simply say Narayana in the end, and that's all, and you are done. So that is not the message. The message is that if chanting of one name of Lord Narayana can give you protection from that danger, then how do we understand the glories and the benefit of when we speak the names of Narayana every time during in our life, all the time in our life? So that is the main idea. And Ajamil actually did not went to back to Godhead after just speaking that Narayana. He was still there. He was kind of protected by those Yamadutas. He was spared by the Yamadutas, and then he got the chance to go to Haridwar and then perfect his life. So that was the main idea. We will cover this point in elaborate detail in the Ajamil's pastime. So this time we only made a very, very brief mention, and you are right, you are perfectly right that it can give a wrong message also. So we will clarify that later on.
Thank you very much.
Dandavat Guruji.
Yes. Dandavat Prabhuji.
Kaise hai Prabhuji? As usual, wonderful, excellent. No words to say. All glories to my Guru Keshav and all glories to Guru Shil Prabhupada. And again, I will catch you on such a thing of bhakti. Today also, I get more and more fortified on bhakti. Because again, bhakti's importance came today. And it's really, it means karma and jnana are nowhere near bhakti. Bhakti is...
the purpose of karma and jnana is actually to lead towards...
Okay. So they are sort of steps.
Yeah, they are the preliminary stages for before
Bhakti. Guruji. This is really great.
And one more argument I remember from your previous class where you mentioned that why Jnana is mentioned in the end. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is not a separate book. Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata.
Which comes before listening from you, that was my concept. So always I used to discuss first we learn jnana, karma, then nishkam karma, then seva, then nishkam seva. Then we go to bhakti, surrender to me, say I am this, I am that, I am that. So he tells everything what he is, and then come to my holy feet and surrender to me, unconditional, I'll take care of it. Then he gives us jnana. So this was my concept.
In the 18th chapter also, Prabhuji. Yeah, in the 18th chapter also, if you see the concluding, the 18th chapter is the concluding chapter. But in the 18th chapter, the verse number 65 and verse number 66 is purely bhakti. Is purely bhakti.
Because
Manmana bhav man bhakto. Yeah, manmana bhav man bhakto. So when you are saying that in the end it is jnana section, but in the jnana section also, at the end of the jnana section also is only talking about pure devotional service.
Guruji, wo to dekho na, see the last, sorry, I spoke Hindi, that you see the last, 68, that shloka is known as Ek Shloki Gita, or equal to Adi.
Charan Shloki.
Guruji. Yeah. So dekho, I like, now my brother Dr. Ishwar was telling. So about that, I have to comment. Number one, everybody is not Ishwar. Number two, yes, we feel more, repeating things, and listening from mouth of Guru. So that's my little comment. But in this, now there is a, if we can repeat again and again this last shloka, so there is no need to go through all backgrounds. So, but then we need it. And then in that, middle 6 chapters are all bhakti. So we have to, and which is the most important.
Yeah.
And about this soul, sometimes I get, because in Bhagavad Gita, in one chapter, I don't remember, you make us practice soul, prakriti, Parameshwar. Soul is guided by ichhas. I mean, ichhas are all produced by the soul, and prakriti is the jeev, and whatever soul have desires, it are completed by prakriti, means me, jeev, but with the permission of Parameshwar.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's a total
soul desires, prakriti facilitates, and Paramatma sanctions.
Correct. Yes. So it's so simple, but sometimes then again, because I'm listening Bhagavatam first time in my life, so I'm taking a little really long to digest everything. So, but that is my way. Your way to teach, and I have to work hard to learn it. So this is my test, But it's really, this is something out of this world, listening Bhagavatam word first time. And fortunately, I heard Tiffany on this a week before you started teaching us, that the difference between Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, it is what Krishna said to Arjuna, and in Bhagavatam, what Krishna did. So this you are going to teach us, So I have at least the base concept.
Okay.
So I'm quite happy that way. And God is kind to Sureshji introduce me to you, and I'm getting the benefit fruits of that.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Yes. Now
Hare Krishna to all.
Let me ask few other devotees. Shubha Puranik Mataji, welcome to our classes. Thank you very much. Just to take your feedback as well, I hope you are finding it useful, the classes. Any remarks, any comments from your side?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. I am attending your class second time. This time it is second class of mine to yours, Prabhuji.
Okay.
It's very nice class, Prabhuji. You are mentioning all the points very in detail. So it's very fruitful, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Any question? Please don't feel shy. Kindly let me know. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Prasanna Lakshmi Mataji, I hope you also find it useful. Any comments, any remarks?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Very wonderful class, Prabhuji.
Okay.
All the points detailedly explained.
Okay.
Very useful.
You have any question, Mataji? Any doubt?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I think then, okay, I see Jayamala Mataji also. Mataji, good to see you. I hope you are doing well. Your health is good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, sir. Yes, Prabhuji. Very wonderful class. Very well prepared and well presented as usual. Prabhuji, can I ask you a small doubt?
Please.
Prabhuji, this is concerning the first verse of today, where we read that if our occupational duties do not produce attraction for the Lord, then it is simply useless labor. That is shrama eva hi kevalam. So I have heard this verse quoted by many acharyas. Prabhupada also has quoted this. My question is, I think that occupational duties means our professional life, the work we do, and the job we have. So in today's modern world, Prabhuji, how will our professional life ever produce an attraction for the Lord? It is completely, both are very far away from each other.
Let me explain it to you. So it is actually in context of varnashram, and in context of varnashram, the word occupational duties, it is actually a translation of this word dharma. So the word dharma has been translated as occupational duties, and these occupational duties in varnashram are probably of 8 types. 8 types means like we have 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. So like we have brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha and sannyasi. So brahmachari has his duty, that is called an occupational duty. Grahastha has his duty, and then vanaprastha has his duty, and then sannyasi has his duty. Similarly, in varnas, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya and shudra, they all have their duties. Now we could have combination, permutation and combination. For example, we have a kshatriya who is a brahmachari, or we have a kshatriya who is a grahastha, or we have a vaishya who is a vanprasthi, like that. So the point here is, Mataji, that occupational duty actually means duties. Duties means kartavya. And if we do our kartavya well, and from where do we get this kartavya? Where do we understand all these kartavya? These kartavya is coming from the scriptures, from the Vedas. All these duties, prescribed duties for what is the duty of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, etc., they are coming from the Vedas. So actually, when we are following the Vedas, when we are following our occupational duties as per the Vedas, we are actually following the Supreme Lord, because Vedas is nothing but the voice of the Supreme Lord. So by following those duties according to our nature as prescribed in the Vedas, we move towards the Lord. We move towards the Lord. But in the process of moving towards the Lord, people can get lost. People can get lost, that why that they may consider their duty to be the goal rather than the means to reach the Lord. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So they may think that, okay, being a good family man, being a good grahastha is the duty or is the goal of my life. So I simply should take care of my wife, my children, etc., etc., very nicely, and that is the goal of my life. Rather than understanding that actually the ultimate purpose is to develop love for the Lord. It is not simply to just take care of the family. Certainly, taking care of the family is the part that we have to play. But ultimately, performing those duties should lead to purification, and that purification should lead towards attraction towards the Lord. That is the idea. So the conception that you are having, that occupational duty means the occupation or only the job that we are doing or the business we are doing or the service we are doing. No. Occupational duty means the dharma in the varnashram system. It could be grahastha dharma, it could be vanprastha dharma, it could be brahmachari dharma, etc. So in that context, it is being mentioned. For our context also, when we go to our office and we do our job well, we do our job as far as the norms of the company, norm of your employer, we fulfill the needs of the employer, and ultimately we understand that we should do our best to fulfill the needs of our employer, the requirement of our job, because the Lord will become happy by that. Because our employer is giving us money. In return, we are giving our services to our employer. And when we do that, the Lord will become happy. If that is the understanding, we are actually following Utpad Ratim for the Lord. That is going to elevate us towards the Lord. That is the idea.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for the explanation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Nice question. Very nice question. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Small or big doubts?
Prabhu,
Yes,
Hello.
Mataji. Yes.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
In today's out of today's class, I have one subtle doubt. Is this Varnashrama takes you into the levels, right? Like Brahmacharya, Grahastha, and like that. So the love you develop towards Krishna ultimately makes you renounce, or you renounce, and because of that you develop love for Krishna, which is sure shot like.
Mataji, there are two processes. One is that the Varnashram system process. So in the Varnashram system process, typically we are focusing mainly on fulfilling our duties as per the scriptures, as per the position we are in. That is the way we are going in. But in the Varnashram system also, like you saw, there was a verse about Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, isn't it? You saw that verse.
Yes.
In Varnashram system also, an individual may have this understanding of the absolute truth, that the absolute truth is actually Brahman. He may have that understanding. He may not have the Bhagavan understanding ultimately. Or he may simply be inclined towards Paramatma understanding. So the absolute truth's understanding as Bhagavan is not there for everyone, even if it is following the Vedic Varnashram system. So even within Vedic Varnashram system, different people in different positions will have different understandings of absolute truth.
Correct. Prabhu, my doubt was
just let me just
the
complete
entanglement part I was asking.
Sorry, yeah. Can you
the
repeat?
Entanglement which is there, how does it go at what? I mean,
it goes because in Varnashram system, simply if we are following the duties of Varnashram, it also purifies. It purifies because from where these Varnashram duties are coming? These duties are coming from the Lord. So indirectly, we are following the instructions of the Lord. Maybe we are not understanding that these instructions actually are coming from an absolute truth who is Krishna.
Correct.
We may not have that understanding. We may have the understanding that, okay, it is coming from some higher power. That higher power is Brahman. And this instruction is given. So if the person follows those duties, those guidelines, he is still elevated. He is still moving towards in the right direction. But that growth will be slow. Because the understanding of absolute truth is not perfect. It is there, but it is not completely grown up. So the growth will be there, but growth will be slow. This person is on the path of the self-realization or on the path of reaching to the absolute truth, but he is going in a slow way, in a slow journey. And in the process, he may get distracted. He may actually forget that actually the purpose is to move towards transcendence. He may, in the process, may get carried away that, okay, only the duties are supposed to be done. Or maybe in the process, he may get carried away with the material gain he is making in the Varnashram system. So all kind of dangers are there. All kind of difficulties could be there in even following the Varnashram system. But once you are in bhakti, then if you are clearly knowing that goal is Krishna, now there you cannot go wrong.
So irrespective of even Varnashrama,
irrespective of that is what
the love for Krishna will promote you, right? That's what
yes, that is what it is saying. That is what actually it is saying. Rather, if you go in the previous class, verse number 7, where Lord Krishna is, where Sud Goswami is saying that bhakti, the jnana and vairagya actually is the byproduct of bhakti. Jnana and vairagya, and varnashram here also it is being mentioned. It is not parodharma. Bhakti is the parodharma. So once you are in bhakti, once you are in the bhakti category, you know the ultimate absolute truth is Lord Krishna. Bhakti is the ultimate process. then that is a big achievement by the jiva in this material world. He understood what is the topmost religion and what is the topmost process.
Other things will follow automatically, right?
Other thing will automatically follow. Okay. This is what he's saying in the later verses, that once you develop this bhakti, then karma granthi nibandhanam. Karma granthi nibandhanam. This is exactly what he's saying in Suta Goswami.
Because sorry, my question is going longer. Because Prabhupada himself was a grahastha, and at some point of time, later part of his life, he left the family and went away, right? He took sannyas. Right. So, and then he reached certain heights which were not easily achievable by anybody on any imagination, correct? Like he could bring the consciousness of Krishna across the world internationally. So that is why I was asking, like, whether entanglements like they have to be given away, and or bhakti by itself will take care.
The bhakti will take care. Although, see, what happens is, it does not mean that we don't make an effort or endeavor to leave those entanglements. But though entanglements are so strong that even if we desire best of our capacity, it doesn't go. But the process of bhakti is so strong, so powerful, that it takes care. See, the way the process of bhakti works is, we should understand that. Actually, you should read our Nectar of Devotion classes, the recordings of which are given on YouTube. If you listen to those classes, the process of bhakti is very excellently explained by Srila Rupa Goswami. The process of bhakti goes something like this. You develop love for the Lord. And when you develop love for the Lord, the lower level of loves are already gone away. That love is so strong and so attractive, so sweet and so powerful, that everything else becomes so tiny and puny that it doesn't matter at all for the bhakta, for the devotee. That is the idea.
Correct.
So this is why you don't have to leave the entanglement. The love of the Lord will speak so loudly that you think that, what is this entanglement? Remember what happened to Dhruv Maharaj? Dhruv Maharaj was out to seek for a kingdom.
Correct.
That is why he went home. That is why he went forest. But the moment...
But all of us are not doing that kind of austerity, right? Like
no, that was the austerity at that period in that age.
For a small boy to do that.
For a small boy in that age, that was something in Satya Yuga or maybe Treta Yuga, whatever. In that age, that was the process of austerity. But in our age, our Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan.
Sankirtan, yes.
And if you do Harinam Sankirtan, Shravanam Kirtanam. If you do Shravanam Kirtanam, then rest assured you will be taken care. Yeah. Okay, I think it's getting a little late. We will continue with the discussion in the next class. Thank you very much for your excellent queries and your presence. Really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Rakesh ji. Thank you ji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.